I discovered my wife's betrayal 3 weeks ago, and it changed everything. I'm 31, and my wife is 29. We've been married for just under a year when I found out she was living a double life. When we first met, she told me she had recently ended things with her boyfriend of 4 years. I hadn't dated anyone for almost 3 years myself, since my last relationship ended badly. Maybe that's why we connected so deeply. We both understood what it meant to be hurt. We made promises to each other to always be honest and faithful. I meant every word, and I really thought she did too. We dated for about 2.5 years before getting married. She brought so much joy to my life compared to my past relationships. Her sense of humor was natural, and she could make anyone smile. Those first months of marriage were exactly what I'd hoped for. I work in software development at a major company here, while she's built up quite a following as a lifestyle blogger with her own online business. I'll admit my job got intense sometimes, and I missed a couple of our planned evenings together each month because of urgent deadlines or forgetting about events we were supposed to attend. I always tried to make it up to her, though. Bringing home her favorite candy bars usually did the trick. Things started looking up when my company introduced a new policy: 3 weeks remote work and 1 week in office. I was thrilled since her work was already remote, meaning we could spend more time together. She seemed happy about it too, and for a while everything felt perfect again. But within the first month of my new schedule, I started noticing odd behavior. As an influencer, she was always on her phone. That was normal. What wasn't normal was how she'd quickly switch apps whenever I came near. She became secretive with her laptop too, closing it as soon as she heard me coming. She thought she was being subtle, but I noticed every time. When I finally confronted her about it, she acted like I was being paranoid. She even invited me to look through her work messages and social media accounts, something she'd never done before. During our dating years, we had access to each other's phones, but I never checked her client conversations out of respect for her work privacy. Her sudden openness felt wrong somehow. It was like she was trying too hard to prove her innocence. I dropped the subject but kept watching. A few days later, she hosted some of her influencer friends at our place. Throughout the evening, she kept texting someone, so much that even her friends noticed and asked about it. She brushed it off as work-related, but later that evening, she randomly brought up a conversation about a potential brand deal with a skincare company. She never discussed her work deals with me, so this felt like she was creating an alibi before I could question her. That's when I decided to investigate properly. I found an app that could monitor phone activity and installed it on both our phones. I know some might call this invasive, but after being cheated on before, I couldn't ignore the signs again. 2 days after setting up the app, I got my first real evidence. She was talking to her ex, the same one she claimed to have completely cut ties with. One evening, she deliberately sent me out for groceries she'd forgotten to buy, just so she could talk to him. They laughed about how I'd never leave her because I love her too much. They even planned to meet that same evening. When I got home, she was already dressed up and told me she was going out with her girlfriends. I called my friend Qley, and we went to the restaurant where I knew she'd be meeting him. Sure enough, there they were acting like a couple. The look on her face when she saw me, I'll never forget it. She tried to play it cool at first, but when she saw Qley recording everything, her act crumbled. She came up with some story about meeting a client, but I didn't say a word. I just left with Qley. We had rented our apartment together, so I couldn't kick her out. Instead, I packed what I needed and stayed at Qley's place. She bombarded me with messages and calls for weeks. When I finally checked her voice notes, she had a whole new story prepared. According to her, her ex worked for a major brand and was going to connect her with an important client. She claimed she felt cold in her dress, and he was just trying to keep her warm. That's why they were cuddling. She probably thought I'd believe this ridiculous excuse. What she didn't know was that I could still see all her conversations through the app. I discovered she actually was working with a big brand, and her ex was an employee there. They'd been handling a major promotional campaign together for the past couple months. I found messages where they mocked the company's products and made fun of their quality. According to her contract, she wasn't supposed to have personal relationships with company staff or criticize their products. I sat on this information for a while, unsure what to do with the video Qley had taken. My wife had spent years building her reputation online. Even though she dealt with typical social media drama, she never faced any serious scandals. I was hurting badly and wanted her to feel some of my pain. I decided to release both the restaurant video and the conversations where they trash-talked the brand's products. Her followers turned on her immediately. The company terminated her contract and fired her ex. The leaked chats showed them saying awful things about a specific product line while she was being paid to promote it. She had to make a public apology and deal with the company's legal team. It was like watching dominoes fall. Other brands started dropping her too. Her carefully built influencer career crumbled in days. I made sure to send everything to her parents first. I told them our marriage was over and shared my thoughts about their daughter's character before blocking their numbers. She showed up at my office trying to cause a scene, but security removed her when she wouldn't stop yelling my name from outside the building. I kept tabs on her social media just to see the fallout. Everything was falling apart for her, exactly as I'd planned. But then things took an unexpected turn. She figured out I was behind the leaks, probably through her parents. She showed up at Qley's house in a rage, screaming about how I'd ruined her life and promising to destroy mine. She called me every name in the book and said she regretted ever marrying someone like me. When she noticed Qley recording her again, she completely lost it. She grabbed a rock from his front yard and threw it at his window, cracking the glass and making him drop his phone. I went outside to confront her, and that's when she pulled out a pocket knife. Right there in broad daylight, she slashed all 4 tires on my car and dragged the knife along the entire side, leaving a deep scratch from front to back. She just smiled and said, "How do you like your new car?" before walking away. I never experienced such anger before. My car was undrivable with 4 flat tires, and the scratch looked terrible. Qley convinced me to take legal action. He had everything recorded from inside his house. He decided to sue her for his damaged window, too. The court case was almost funny. She actually tried to claim that I slashed my own tires because I was jealous she left me for her ex. She completely forgot about Qley's recording. The judge's expression changed the moment she saw the video evidence. She ordered my wife to pay for all repairs, 4 new tires, and a complete paint job for the scratch. The case about Qley's window went even faster. The judge had already seen how she behaved in the video, so she didn't even let my wife try to defend herself. Her ex wasn't anywhere to be seen during any of this, some supportive boyfriend he turned out to be. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers were ready. I had my lawyer send them over, and surprisingly, she signed them right away. Maybe she finally realized she couldn't play the victim anymore. Watching her deal with the mess she created was satisfying in a way I never expected. These past few months have taught me a lot. The 3 years we dated, I thought I knew her completely. She had convinced me she'd never speak to her ex again, even if he was the last man on earth. Those were her exact words. I could beat myself up for believing her, but at least I acted as soon as I noticed something was wrong. If I hadn't, I might still be there, helping her pick out outfits for her fake girls' nights out. The divorce is final now. Unlike her, when I say something is over, I mean it. I blocked her on every social platform we shared. Her career as an influencer is basically finished. She's barely posting anymore. Her followers, who used to think we had the perfect marriage, now know the truth. Many commented that they couldn't believe she'd do this during what was supposed to be our honeymoon year. Some people have asked if I feel bad about how things turned out for her. But I couldn't let her betrayal slide just to keep up appearances for people I've never met. She made her choices, and now she's living with the consequences. Every time I drive my repaired car, I remember how quickly someone can change from the person you married into a complete stranger. I heard she's trying to rebuild her online presence under a different name, but her past keeps following her. Meanwhile, I'm focusing on my own life. Qley keeps telling me I'll find someone better, someone who actually means their promises. Maybe he's right, but for now, I'm just glad to have this chapter of my life close for good. Looking back, I realized that social media presence and reality are often complete opposites. While she was posting about our perfect life together, she was secretly meeting her ex. All those likes and followers couldn't fix what was broken in our marriage. The only thing I regret is not trusting my instincts sooner when I first noticed something was wrong. This whole experience has changed how I view relationships and trust. But I won't let it make me bitter. Instead, I'm taking it as a lesson learned. Sometimes the perfect-looking life isn't perfect at all, and that's okay. The truth eventually comes out, and when it does, you just have to be ready to handle whatever comes next. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.